He chose a cliff where screams vanish into the wind. No cameras, no witnesses. Just a wheelchair, a paralyzed mother, and a rich son who wanted everything. He thought the ocean would erase his crime, but he forgot one thing. The dog was watching. Everyone in the city admired Daniel Cross. He was young, wealthy, and powerful. A man who wore tailored suits, drove expensive cars, and spoke with confidence that made doors open for him. People called him successful. Some even called him kind. They didn't see what happened behind closed doors. At home, in a quiet room filled with the smell of medicine and old memories, lived his mother, Eleanor Cross. Once strong and graceful, she was now paralyzed from the waist down, bound to a wheelchair after a devastating stroke. Her hands trembled, but her eyes still softened every time she looked at her son. Daniel was her world. She trusted him completely. She believed every smile, every gentle word, every promise that he would always protect her. What she didn't know was that her son no longer saw a mother. He saw a responsibility, a burden, a shadow over the life he wanted, and always nearby, silent and watchful, was Max, the old German shepherd who never left Eleanor's side, his loyal eyes following Daniel wherever he went. Dogs see what people ignore, and Max saw everything. Caring for his mother had once been something Daniel accepted without question, but acceptance slowly turned into irritation. Irritation became resentment. Every morning began the same way. Medications, doctor calls, canceled meetings. His friends traveled the world. His business partners lived freely, and Daniel stayed behind, trapped in a house that felt smaller every day. The inheritance was already his on paper. The money, the properties, the legacy. All delayed by a woman who could no longer walk. He hated himself for thinking it, then hated her for making him think it at all. Sometimes, while pushing her wheelchair through the house, his hands tightened around the handles just a little longer than necessary. Eleanor never noticed. She talked about memories, about his childhood, about how proud she was of him. Her words only made the silence louder, and Max noticed everything. The German shepherd watched Daniel with steady, unblinking eyes. He growled softly when Daniel raised his voice. He placed himself between them when tension filled the room. Dogs don't understand money. They don't understand inheritance. But they understand danger, and somewhere deep inside Daniel's mind, a terrible thought began to form, quiet at first, then clearer with every passing day. One push, one accident, and it would all be over. The road to Blackwood Cliff was long, narrow, and silent. Daniel drove with both hands tight on the steering wheel, his jaw clenched, eyes fixed straight ahead. The ocean fog rolled in thick waves beside the road, swallowing everything beyond a few feet. It was the kind of place people avoided, the kind of place where mistakes disappeared. In the back seat, Eleanor sat quietly in her wheelchair, wrapped in her shawl. She smiled, unaware of the weight pressing on her son's chest. "You always loved this place," she said softly. "You used to bring me here when you were a boy." Daniel nodded but didn't answer. Each mile made his heart pound harder. Each turn felt like a point of no return. He told himself it had to be done, that this was mercy, that no one would ever know. Max rode beside Eleanor, his body stiff, ears alert. He whined once, low and uneasy. The sound made Daniel's grip tighten. When they arrived, the wind howled against the cliffs, sharp and cold. Waves crashed violently below, unseen but powerful. Daniel unfolded the wheelchair and began pushing his mother toward the edge. Eleanor laughed softly. Enjoying the fresh air, Max stopped. His paws dug into the dirt. His eyes locked onto Daniel. He growled. Daniel ignored him and kept moving forward, unaware that every step closer was being counted by the one soul who knew something was terribly wrong. The cliff edge was closer than Eleanor realized. The ground beneath the wheelchair changed from firm dirt to loose gravel. The wind grew louder, screaming up from the depths below. Eleanor felt it brush against her face and frowned. "Daniel, why are we so close?" she asked. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped behind her, placing both hands on the handles. His shadow fell over her shoulders. For a brief moment, Eleanor sensed something was wrong. She turned her head slightly, searching for his face. That was when she saw it. Not love, not hesitation, only emptiness. "Daniel," she whispered. He pushed. The wheelchair lurched forward violently. Eleanor's scream ripped through the air as the ground vanished beneath her. Metal scraped against stone, then disappeared over the edge. Silence followed. Daniel stood frozen, heart racing, staring into the endless drop. The ocean roared far below, swallowing all sound. It was done. No witnesses, no proof, no turning back. Daniel exhaled, relief washing over him. Then he heard it, a deep, furious growl. Behind him, Max stood rigid, teeth bared, eyes burning with something Daniel had never seen before. Judgment. Max exploded into motion. Before Daniel could turn, The German shepherd lunged, slamming into him with full force. Daniel hit the ground hard, gasping as Max stood over him, teeth bared inches from his face. A deep growl thundered from the dog's chest, not wild, not angry, but controlled. Warning. Daniel froze. Every attempt to move was met with another growl. Max wasn't attacking. He was stopping him. Then, without hesitation, Max spun and sprinted toward the cliff. He skidded to the edge and barked, loud, sharp, desperate. Again and again. His voice echoed through the canyon like an alarm that refused to be ignored. Below, the impossible had happened. The wheelchair hadn't fallen straight down. It had slammed into a dead tree growing out of the cliffside, wedged between rock and root. Eleanor hung there, suspended above the roaring ocean, trembling, barely conscious, her fingers clutching branches with fading strength. Max paced at the edge, barking nonstop. Eyes locked on her. Minutes passed. Then footsteps. 2 hikers appeared on a distant trail, drawn by the relentless sound. They followed the barking until they saw the horror below. One of them shouted. The other pulled out a phone. Help was coming. Max didn't stop barking, not once, not until ropes dropped down the cliff, and hands finally reached Eleanor. Only then did he fall silent, his body trembling, his duty fulfilled. Eleanor was pulled to safety, her body shaking, her breath shallow. But she was alive. Rescue workers wrapped her in blankets as police officers turned toward Daniel. There was no anger in her eyes when she looked at him, only heartbreak. The truth spilled quickly. The hikers had seen him at the edge. They had heard the scream. Justice didn't hesitate. Daniel was led away in handcuffs, his wealth suddenly meaningless. Eleanor reached out with trembling hands, and Max pressed his head against her chest. She buried her face in his fur, tears soaking deep as she whispered his name again and again. Max stayed still, steady, protective, exactly as he always had been. Some people chase power, some chase money, but loyalty doesn't need either. Sometimes, the purest love comes from those who ask for nothing in return. If this story moved you, share it. Because heroes don't always speak. Sometimes, they bark.